Hello, my name is Sarah Severin. I'm an expert with sexy hair, and today we're going to be performing 3 haircuts. This is my long hair model, and we're going to be creating the Mila haircut. So what this haircut entails is not too much off the length, keeping the length long, but we're creating lots of movement with longer layers through the bottom profile, and creating lots of movement. And she's got a lot of hair, so we want to decrease a lot of the weight. And we're going to give her some soft, longer face framing layers. Okay, let's get started. So what I've done first is I've created a parting all across the top of her head from ear to ear. And what this does is it separates the front from the back. We're going to work into the back profile first. Put your head down a little bit. Now I like to split this whole back profile in half, because there's so much hair back here. It's easier to work through the hair this way. Now I'm going to create a horizontal parting right across the occipital. Clip that section out of the way. Placing your finger right where you want your comb to go is really cool. It just goes right there. Now we're going in our client's head's move. We're just going to move her head forward so we have a flatter pellet. I'm going to create 5 vertical subsections. Okay, first off, we're going to comb at 0 degree elevation and create our perimeter length. We're taking off just a little bit of hair. Keep this length. Danae loves her long hair. She was all about this haircut when she knew it was a long haircut, so it wasn't hard to convince her. Now we're going to create our 5 vertical sections. Twist that hair out of the way. You can use your comb. We're going to cut up and around that head shape, using the head shape as our distance and for our design. So starting at that low elevation, we're going to move up to the part line. That's where we're going to end this cut. Waiting for that bottom to fall out, and then that's where I can begin. And each of these sections are going to be held straight off of the head shape. Wait for that bottom, that's going to be our guide. Now when cutting up and around the head shape, to stay nice and true to your body, you're going to actually fold your fingers with that shear. Fold them out of the way. You'll be able to feel the difference in that cut, that section. Finishing up the part. You don't have to exactly stop at that particular part. You can keep going a little bit, work it all the way through. So what we've created is a soft, broken perimeter. Letting down the remainder back. And let's divide it once again in half. Now Danae has a lot of hair. She has very dense hair. So in my step-by-step, I wrote 7 sections that we're going to create, but for someone with Danae's hair, you might want to adjust it a little bit. We'll see what it looks like when we get there. And I think we'll be fine with the 7. Now why we create more is to reach around that. The largest part of the head shape is right here. After I create these partings, we're going to re-wet her a little bit. I want to keep the same amount of tension on each part being cut so that we have precision cutting. Continue cutting up. Now we have a guide. You're going to see this hair fall out. And right where we ended our last previous was about 90 degrees at that part line. That's where we're going to start once again. So pulling that hair straight off the head shape. Waiting for that bottom to fall out, that's when we begin. And we're going to finish it all the way to the part that we've created again. And my fingers are not long enough, so I will recomb and restart. And these sections will also be held straight off of the head shape. Starting at a 90. Repeat the same movements. Now we're getting closer to the corner of the head, and you might not see your guide, so what you can do is pull from the front next door. You can see where you need to be. Especially in these corners right here, you're going to have to pull in the section next door. I saw it fall, and that's where I begin. And follow it all the way up parallel to that parting. What we're doing is we're creating our texture and our design all in one movement, fluid movement. So that way we're not having to go back, and we're eliminating a lot of steps in between the haircuts. And we're not cutting flat layers on the head, and we're creating those rounded, soft layers instead. I can see that I'm straight off the head shape, letting my guide fall out. And if you do have to recomb, make sure that you're keeping your same elevation. Don't drop your elevation. There's my guide. You see I didn't drop my elevation. Just keep going with that. I'm going to pull again from next door. Make sure you are combing your hair straight. There's no buckles in that line. There's no snags in that line. Beautiful texture, beautiful movement starting to form. Drop down the remainder of the back profile. Now we're going to create 5 radial subsections. We're creating radial subsections because this is the round of the head. We want to expand these layers to fit over that round of the head. It's a really cool technique that we're going to go through and do at the end too. It's called the weave cutting technique, which is perfect for today's type of hair. We need to eliminate a lot of weight in this design for it to move the way we want it. Now we've created our 5 radial. Remember where we stopped with that last section underneath? Is where we're going to begin once again. Spray her just a little bit more. Where we're going to end this section about a 135. We're not going to go all the way up to 180. We don't want that exaggerated amount of layers. We just want to keep the layers in the bottom profile and the perimeter. So we're going to keep it end at a 135. I saw my guide fall out there. Oh, that's beautiful. Remembering to keep these partings held straight off from the head shape. I saw my guide fall out. Now we already have our guide from before underneath these corner sections, which is really nice and helpful. And there it is. You see that nice softness starting to form at the bottom. Make sure you get really close to that scalp and comb, so that way there's even tension all the way throughout. Cool. Now we're going to move into the front profile. We're going to create that diagonal. We've already created that in the front profile in the beginning. Was her diagonal back on her preferred side, which is her left side. And then we're going to take the side, lighter side, and divide it in half horizontally. And now we're going to create 2 vertical sections here. We're going to match the perimeter in the back by holding this straight behind the ear and then grabbing from a little piece from behind in the previously cut section. There's not much to cut here. So that is our guide. She already has face framing layers, so we want to preserve that front profile. So we're going to laterally direct this back to the back profile and cut up. We can can see our guide fall out, and that's where we want to begin. And you're going to cut up and finish directly parallel to that part. Repeat the same movements. I'm going to actually join these two together since she does have some layers already. Let's see if I missed anything. Which there's nothing to cut there, so don't cut. Dropping down that same side. Now we're going to create 3 vertical and repeat the same movements. So we ended it right parallel to that part. That's 90 degrees, so that's where we're going to begin. And finish it up to what we had going in the back, which is the 135. Grab a piece from underneath to see where I want to begin here and make sure that falls out. Remember to laterally direct it to the back corner of the head. And how to find that back corner: we would place 2 combs, one on the back, and where those 2 meet, that's where you're going to find your corners of the head. So it's like imagining putting a box on the head. Find your corner, let that bottom drop out, continue up to a 135. Grab a small piece from next door, because there wasn't much underneath to actually use as a guide, so you need to create one. And there it is, falling out. Found my corner. And don't create knots. You can see that falling to the back very nicely and gradually. On the opposite side, I'll go ahead and move you. Okay, up a little bit more. On the opposite side, we're going to create 3 horizontal sections. That one up out of the way. See her starting to dry a little bit more. I'm going to save her from her own hair in the front here. Creating 2 in the parting closest to the ear. 2 vertical sections, and we're going to repeat the same movements. So we're laterally directing it to the back profile and the corner. I'm going to pull a small piece. I'm going to create my length here. Or you can cut stationary. And there's nothing to cut in that front profile. Now we're going to find our back corner, and we've already created our guide for the bottom, from the bottom, so we're going to continue cutting up in parallel to that part. See that bottom guide fall out? and to join these two together because there wasn't much in that profile, so there's only a tiny bit to cut. Drop down the remainder. We're going to divide that in half horizontally and create 3 vertical subsections. In our parting closest to the ear, we're going to continue that cut, directing it back to the back corner of the